I was walking.
He's getting what? He's gonna get it.
Right.
Oh, in Milton. But he's not.
Walking dog.
It's only seven. It's in the 8:57. Right, we're ready to begin. This meeting is called pursuant to the provisions of the Open Public Meetings Law. Notice of this meeting was sent to the Cape May Star and Wave and the Atlantic City Press, posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building, and has remained continuously posted as the required notice under the statute. In addition, a copy of this notice is and has been available to the public and is on file in the office of the municipal clerk. Would everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States and to the republic for which it stands.
Jim Barnes, George Dick,
Here.
John Fusco,
Here.
Allison Morgan,
Here.
Paul Mulligan,
Here.
Kevin O'Neill,
Here.
Tom Richards is absent, Lisa Rosselli,
Here.
Carol Sabo,
Here.
Ryan Griffin,
Here.
Carol Ray Flynn is absent.
Our first item are resolutions. We have three tonight. First is resolution number 011-25. I'm going to mispronounce her name again. Light and Marine, 128 Pearl Street. And I believe everyone was emailed those documents. Jim. Excuse me. I have a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Yes.
Wonderful, thank you. Barnes,
Yes.
Dick,
Yes.
Fusco,
Yes.
Morgan,
Yes.
Mulligan,
Yes.
O'Neill,
Yes.
Sabo,
Yes.
Griffin,
Yes.
Rosselli,
Yes. Next item is resolution number 012-25. Cottleball. Is that right? Yeah. Got it, just 101 Brown. Just need a motion to approve.
Make that motion.
And I'll second.
Barnes,
Begrudgingly, yes.
Dick,
Same. Yes.
Fusco,
Yes.
Morgan, Mulligan,
Yes.
O'Neill,
We did, yes. We did vote on it.
I thought this was the 4A original one.
Sabo,
Yes.
Griffin,
Yes.
Rosselli,
Yes. And the next one is resolution number 013-25. This is the one that you had to sit out because of floor area ratio. Evan and Thomas, 320 First Avenue. I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Barnes, Fusco,
No vote, abstain.
Morgan,
Yes.
Mulligan,
Yes.
O'Neill,
Yes.
Griffin,
Yes.
Rosselli,
Yes. And we have no applications tonight as a work session. So we brings us to the master plan reexamination and where we're at on that, which is, I believe, almost complete.
Well, the lots were elected. There were board members who were going to provide that with recommendations. That wanting to do further recommendations. I don't know if everyone's done that or hasn't done that. I've reviewed them with Matt. I know George had some notes he wanted to share with him. I thought you did too. I don't know whether you've done that, so I,
Mine was mainly housekeeping and a lot of it was cleaned up.
as long as you provided it to Matt, that's all.
No, it wasn't. I wasn't going to provide it to him, I was going to go over it with you, but some of it Tony cleaned up. And it was mostly language.
Tony's recommendations were ordinance recommendations that he provided. I was just reviewing that email from him. It really wasn't master plan per se, it was ordinance recommendations that he thought we should clean up. So,
Don't have that too.
yeah, so this is really relevant to this draft document and
Well, I actually had some grammatical and
Yeah.
some things that were suggested, but from what I understood, they were from 2015, and they stay as they are, am I correct?
Right.
They stay as they were written. We're not fixing anything from then, so some of us made suggestions that would read better this way, but it doesn't get changed because it stays as it was from the 2015 report, and that's mainly what I had.
so then, you know, in part of this draft, there's the strategic objectives. And, you know, again, it's really, English, it's probably, an exercise that we should, if you think, Madam Chair, about whether or not we should review them, then, you know, this is a document we're gonna be living with for 10 years, so,
What I would like to do is put out the last call to all board members to go through, this is our latest one that we all have, mine's pretty marked up, and I see Anthony's is, and, I think we all have this document, and give it a final go through and make sure that all the changes or any notes that you wrote go to either Trish or Pinoni.
We want to discuss some of those?
We certainly can, sure, that's fine.
Yeah, I mean, one more ones through, I mean, I have probably 2 pages of comments on language.
so
clarification.
starting on page 25.
Right, starting on page 25, I think that's where we should start looking at things.
Sounds good.
I had comments starting on number 4. You want, which is page 26. Was it?
Yeah, it's good.
Want to go ahead? Okay,
I defer.
okay. Previous master plan strategic objective number 4 was identify a supplier of safe water. Remember, this was from 2005 and then 2015. The status recommendation is this is no longer an issue. That's true. It basically says the desalinization plant has been upgraded for Cape May City, except as noted, while salt intrusion into wells is not a current issue, the borough will need to continue to monitor the effects of sea level rise and saltwater intrusion on wells and determine the needs to be addressed. I think we need to put in there that Cape May City's capacity on a desal plant is less than what it needs to be going forward, and they will be upgrading the desalinization plant probably in the next 2 to 3 years. So I think that needs to be in there. And as this language is somewhat from a long time ago.
Are you saying the presumption is that that will be done in the next 3 years, but if it is not, then more might need to be done? Is that the?
More, well, there really is no other answer than the desalinated bracket.
Okay,
So,
so
Yeah.
I mean,
the addition is that that is an important.
last year, we had one day when we were the limit of the capacity of the plant. We have an alternative line that comes from nowhere, and we need to turn it on last year. I don't believe we turned it on this year.
And by we, you mean the city of Cape.
Yeah.
Doesn't West Cape May only receives its water from the city of
Correct.
Cape May?
Or lower in the case of that.
Right, well, We don't get anything direct from lower.
Correct.
City of Cape May produces all water.
That's correct. Yeah.
You had others.
Yep. I just want to point out number 8, I didn't really have I don't have anything to say on 8 because I actually liked the way it was written. And that was the one that said, prioritizing redevelopment and infill development rather than new development on current undeveloped lands that would require expansion of those infrastructure systems. I think that's really well worded.
Yeah.
I just started as something to make sure that if anybody had any comments on that, that would be the thing to talk about. On number 9,
And also some of the, too, just to reflect some of that last paragraph that's talking about implementing regulations that limit the scale of new construction. That was some of the ordinance changes that Tony was proposing.
the last paragraph talks about issue of pool water drainage in the storm drains. That is in the ordinance now, you have to filter the water coming out of the pool, so I think that's already been done. I don't
And the
know if-
borough has a stormwater management plan.
Correct. So I don't know if we need to change the language, eliminate that language, what do you think, Karen?
Andrew, I might call you to service on this one. So we're on strategic objective 9,
It's on page 27 at the
Yeah.
top.
27 on the top.
You're looking at the last paragraph.
It says,
Regarding the protection of marshes.
Pool water.
pool water, yeah, that's the water issue, and we
So, you know, I don't know if I'm on board yet or not, George, but we had a conversation about pools one time and we're talking about how often you drain a pool.
You don't.
And, you know, because, when first, at first blush, you're like, oh, we don't want all that chlorinated water going into the storm drain system. And then we had people talk who had pools out, and so I didn't know about these things, about whether you would fully drain a pool ever. So the likelihood of that happening is slim to none. Whether or not there needed to be something addressed about that. It didn't seem like something that would happen on the regular, so. Which I didn't know, but I remember us talking about it.
The next thing that I have, it's basically from 11 through 14, 11 through 16, all talking about, this is about development of recreational facilities, parks. It's how do you conserve various areas of buckets, recreation areas. It's talking about a possible greenway in Eco Park, which I don't believe we have any information of doing that, so that's under 11, that probably should be eliminated. But all these things have to do with potentially purchasing open space. What's our strategy going forward with that? One of the things suggested, and I was reading one of our previous documents about greenways and things and bike plans, and it had in there a lot of, can we get county open space money to buy land along the creek, like from Leaming up to Park Central land, and do something there. I know that we actually have land on the creek that we own. If you go extension of Central Avenue, and one of the things we just kind of kicked around was, hey, there's a paper street there, can we get all the way over there and put a kayak launch? So all these things have to do with recreation, open space, what are we doing on a longer term scale? We don't really have a plan or an idea on that, we really never discussed this. Do we need to put in here somewhere, we need to form a group that actually can have this discussion, not in this meeting, but moving forward, we want to talk about all those issues.
Mm.
And the last one I want to hear is evaluation of all the lots that we have in the borough. And that goes right along with, some of them should be open space, other ones we possibly could sell, auction off. But all this is lumped together, and I think we need to do, it would be a great thing if we could get together as have a little group, some from the community, some from us, and talk about this, the task force, about what we're doing in that area. I don't think this addresses it well enough.
The other greenway was discussed in the past was the waterway from Cape Island Creek running across Sunset Boulevard up through and just about touching Fifth Ave. Right. And much of that land is in fact owned by the borough. And is a logical place for environmental protection.
Yeah, I'm definitely supportive of, I like the idea for the action in the master plan to establish a committee of, both government and citizens and the like committees to talk about the best use for those spaces. Because I agree, I mean, that's just, seeing them around town, there aren't that many of them, but there are a few of them, and it's not that big of a borough, and I think, I definitely support that being added to the master plan.
In GMA, after they did the last master plan, I recall they had an implementation committee. And after they passed the master plan, they created a committee of, different stakeholders. And then they kind of went through the master plan and started with like the easy stuff to fix and to propose the ordinance. Because the master plan isn't really a change to your ordinances, right? So you gotta go through your master plan and then effectuate them. So they had an implementation committee. Just something you guys can think about it.
Yeah, I mean, just along those lines, what I like about that specific suggestion, George, is that it's establish a committee to, to plan these things.
Mhm.
So, anything that's left kind of too generic, I mean, I feel like it gives a logical step, an actionable step to do, and then hopefully, if that step is done and it's considered low hanging fruit, as you said, maybe easy, then now you have some motivated people who can start taking action from it. Rather than if it just sort of says, plan the green space or evaluate whatever, it's could be interpreted a lot of different ways.
In GST.
GST. Got it.
So we want to change that to say that the borough should should undertake an inventory of all borough-owned lots, protect, and in there, put, and establish, and, well, it's not just for that one thing, the implementation committee is for.
Right, that would be a specific task force to look at open space, potential
The committee,
recreational areas.
the committee isn't specific to that goal, it would be to look at all these objectives, and implementation committee. Or just. for
I was
this.
asking specifically about recreation, open space,
Yes.
excess lots that we have, and understanding what possibilities that we would have to
And you said 11,
purchase property, like I said,
you said 11 through 16.
yes, like,
So you would establish a implementation committee for 11 through 16. Which has to do with recreation, open space, and environmental,
and that could be selling things, buying things, creating parks, creating I always wanted that kayak machine.
that is a real, I remember it was a while ago, but there was really a move, it was brownfields money,
It was
Because it was-
in 2008, and I started studying yesterday.
because it was, there's lots of, there's old dump back there, bottle dumps and stuff. So, and I'm gonna go and get all the good bottles.
All the way to the bottom.
Yeah, because if there are seven, but, having that access to a salt-free is really,
That'd be fun. Okay, 18. Talk about the project, which is the roundabout. And it says fall of 25, it's fall of 26. That's just wording. Nineteen, a lot of the thing, that's, explore methods to decrease the congestion on Broadway and other major arteries, especially during the tour season. There's been a lot of things that actually have happened that actually are listed on here. You know, crosswalks, wording on the streets. Coming up shortly, we're gonna have 2 new radar signs put on Broadway, 1 in each direction. So a lot of those things have started. Things that haven't happened, and we have started some discussion, potential sidewalks between Stimson and Duckies, and then potentially looking at the parking regulations on that side of the street.
I think to reread my email for speaks. But, and I believe he was gonna implement another traffic study on Broadway as well, so.
Sorry, so I think that should
Should
be
back to him.
yeah, that should be reflected in what we're saying.
Yeah.
We just had a big discussion on this at the last board commissioners meeting. One of the goals of when we talk to GPI as part of the bicycle and pedestrian planning committee meetings, and gateway committee, that we talked about how we get people off Broadway. First thing was, can we ban them? We're not allowed to ban people from Broadway. Because my first suggestion was, don't allow bikes on there and don't allow bikes on Lafayette. But
And cars.
right, and then cross. Anyway, so what we're looking at is try to establish a safer route than Broadway for bikes, and then educate people who use those routes. So I don't want to get into detail of those, what they are, but that's kind of the overarching.
Just from a personal perspective, I have never seen the traffic coming in from this bridge as heavy as it is this year, ever. To the point where I have to, if I'm somewhere on that side of town, sometimes I cut through the cemetery to get home because I just don't want to get into that traffic. I know coming the other way in town, it's horrific, but,
You may have
I've seen
ways
it,
to affect that.
it's a-
You may have ways to affect that. So I think the apps are, people usually just get to the Big May and then get stuck and stop and wait their turn to get in Game A, but now I think the apps, once that gets backed up, they route them over this way, so I think you're starting to get.
And I know that I need to go down to
You can go.
Sunset to get out of town, because I'm never gonna get out from side streets and definitely not gonna foot of the bridge. It's all changed and it seems like it's kind of recent.
It started to change a couple of years ago when they were doing, when there were lane closures on the 109 over by Lucky Mountains. And that diverted a lot of the traffic this way, and people that then said, oh, it's a pretty cool route, stuck with it.
It's been confused.
You can't go.
That also mentions the roundabout again, the schedule is fall 26, we can just change that. It's still on schedule. Fall 26.
In 21, we had, taking that line out, correct? Enhance public safety, so that's, and that didn't get that change.
That's 21.
Yeah.
The last line of 21, is that the one that got eliminated?
Yes.
Cape Planning Department lowered the speed limit, which was done from 30 to 25 along main streets, and everything else is 25.
And
That was completed.
the county had said to us that they would consider the lowering it on Sunset if the, implementation of speed tables was put there.
That's
So,
yeah.
Without them, they wouldn't lower it below 35. So, I think that can be accomplished during the Sunset Boulevard.
Yeah, I mean, the discussion with the engineer that Carol's referring to was, can we have the same speed limit on Sunset? Because it's actually 25 down in our little business district, and then once it gets to Atlantic, it becomes 35, and then it goes to 40 at the point. So it's very confusing. The speed limit for most speed vehicles is 25, so theoretically they're not allowed on those roads. They did say that we would be able to put speed tables on those roads, including one at Pacific and Sunset, possibly the whole intersection as the cross street to get to the beach for most of our stations. So that's kind of, I'm really looking forward to that project.
Yeah.
Sunset's it's a mess.
Well, back to the roundabout, I'm gifting my paperwork, a newspaper article from 2013 to Commissioner Day.
Oh, thank you very much. That's a good.
Was it?
That's a really good idea. And just so people in the audience know, this is project, the document that I was just handed was from February of 2013. And we just went to see the engineer. The problem with this project is it's being self-funded by the county, so they have to bond for it. And it keeps getting pushed back on the agenda. They don't have a brand for it.
They have money.
They do have money, but they keep pushing it. Anyway, so hopefully we'll get that.
And then they bumped it because of the Higbee's project.
Correct.
So. You're on a roll, George.
You want me to keep going?
Sure.
22 basically talks about established parking, and particularly on, in the business districts and how that should happen. And there's some things that, that are written, like the borough should consider off-island parking option with some sort of shuttle service. And I'm gonna ask people who've been there for a while, has that ever been considered?
So again, some people get the borough confused with the city of Cape May and our parking needs versus the spilling over of the city of Cape May's parking needs. Is there are ordinance where there's standalone parking lots are not allowed by ordinance here. For the simple reason we don't want to become the city of Cape May's parking lot. So in terms of creating off-site parking, they're available to everyone is the shuttle service from the Cape May Elementary School. And they'll bring it over here if you want to go, if your destination is West Cape May. Now, one could possibly explore off-site parking at the Lower Township School, at the Mitnick School, if that was.
Well, since that
Go ahead.
that line item went in the last review, the borough has added parking on Park Avenue, redundant parking in Park Avenue. So I think we added a good 20 spots in total from CVS northward. So that is an action item that has been addressed.
But I mean, it's still an active item that we should have on.
Well,
And if we're not really considering off-island parking options with some sort of shuttle, we should just delete it.
I think we should leave it in. And the reason why is because this parking situation isn't getting any better.
well,
Our town's getting more crowded, not less crowded. The one thing we did add to that was encourage alternative transportation.
and then just in the more global Cape May County perspective, you see, you know, currently in the news is a proposal floating around to build a hotel in Lower Township. You know, so
At the ferry.
at the ferry, you know, and so, you know, City of Cape May's popular, West Cape May's always been popular in my book, you know, the point has, and the spillover is rare. So, I mean, where does it end? How many cars can the island hold? You know, I mean, it's, in terms of planning, that's some of the longitudinal planning that people in business or county planning and regional planning need to look at.
So just as we don't want the city of Cape May's parking to spill over into West Cape May, my guess is Lower Township would feel the same way. They don't want to host our parking.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, so. And I think that's why, the efforts that are made to support local business and keep that part of our community thriving, so that we're not just a vacuum community for the city of Cape May, that we have our own, amenities, which some of them have been lost. You know, I think that's why there's such a balance needed between residential and commercial, and that needs to continue to be the focus. So, just thoughts on the big picture, not just the smaller picture of our community.
But as for the removal of that, the borough should also consider, I mean, it's not currently being implemented or even, you know,
But it may come back as something they consider.
it seems like it's prudent to leave the idea in there.
So, you wanna take out the paragraph about the off-island parking options?
I don't,
I have no problem leaving it in there. It's something that maybe we would consider at a different time, and we take it out, we still could consider it, but
well, they didn't used to allow people to park at the elementary school in Cape May, and now they do. And eventually, maybe these two giant schools we have with tons of parking right off shore. I mean, they're right at the foot of the bridge, two schools with plenty of parking there. That seems like it might be a good idea for at some point.
I'm okay with leaving it. Number 23, promote public transit and revitalization of the rail service. Unless, we're gonna do only rail service on the island, I don't think that's actually feasible. The bridge is no longer operational, so I think you take that out.
Just to be noted, it's gonna be a shuttle running on Tomato Festival and Lima Bean Festival Day
Yes,
in the borough, so that would be good.
So you think we should take 23 out?
what kind of trouble?
Shuttle,
So,
Just to get
Jimmy.
to the festivals. Jimmy. I mean, we can promote public transportation, I just think the revitalization of rail service, which is not feasible, should just get deleted.
Yeah.
And one of the things we're supposed to do is kind of clean this up.
take 23 out?
No,
Just the revitalization of the rail service.
Just, okay.
24, 24 talks about using the borough alleyways as for pedestrian and biking traffic, I think, and talks about actually cleaning them. I do know a lot of people that do walk down there, particularly their dogs and things like that. We paved one alley between Second and Third with permeable pavers. But that's the only place in the borough where the alleys are paved except between Pacific and Broadway.
that one's purpose as well.
That is purpose, yeah. Yeah. So are we even thinking about doing that? I know that was something that was generated again in 2008 from that era's master plan bike survey as potential bike routes. Pave the roads and let people ride their bikes down. Never had any traction, and now,
Well, I think it's not been on the top of the fiscal priority list either, you know? waters other.
But I would suggest that a majority of the alleys between Pacific and actually almost up to Morrison on between Sunset and the Second are not passive. And it would cost a fortune to do it, and is that going to create any additional safety for bike riders and pedestrians? I don't know. I don't see it.
Pedestrians.
But that's most of the ones that are open now are grass and you can walk. This was the area.
Yeah.
Face neighbor opposition, you will treat those alleyways as their problem.
Or, well, technically, yes. And so, I don't know if we leave that in, I guess that's my question. I'm just throwing it out to the group as a thought.
My only thought would be, there's a couple of thoroughfares in the borough that are tight when you have 2 lanes of traffic and no shoulder. It might not be a bad idea to explore the feasibility on those, like Fourth Avenue is very difficult for people to ride bikes on. I think there was just an accident on there a couple days ago. So if there's a navigable pathway there, it might not be a bad idea to keep that open as an option rather than just swipe it off the table.
Yeah, but if you have the alley between Second and Third. Yeah. You're not- But the one between Fourth and Fifth is not really, you can't really go through on your bike. You can walk it, but you can't bike it. So.
That would tie into the bike path, bike trails. As ways to, isn't there a brochure that tells the safety?
Right, and that's the streets, it doesn't reference the alleys.
So then this should probably stay where it says, network and explore opportunities. Partner, with signage, wayfinding signage, include some of those alleys. Bikes can't travel.
So we're keeping it in there, somebody to be discussed or that's not inconsistent.
And it does say, well, it should say any coverage of paths or alleyways should be made with pervious materials. Not that we're advocating they all get covered, but if,
Okay, that was going to jump out to me.
Right.
Like something,
So the one between in Colorado, you said it's all open papers.
right, yeah.
So, it's, I don't like the fact that it's not all consistent, it's kind of funky. Yeah.
Also gifting to Commissioner. Yeah, September 15 county bike study and
Oh, we got.
county borough.
We have an old.
I do, I don't believe I have this map, so.
if it's any consolation, I went to a proposal dinner, and it might have been 25 years ago, for the replacement of the Middle Thoroughfare Bridge. It was countywide, we were all invited, got a nice dinner, we saw the plans, and we were promised that it would be done, completed by 2014.
Right, onward.
Twenty-five?
Yeah, I'm good to say. Okay,
How about 25? 25 is encourage low impact commercial development in C1 zone, including development of galleries, shops, restaurants, and other development, which encourages growth of the resort economy, provides employment opportunities, blah, blah, blah. Okay. As you go down the list here, there are certain things on that bullet list, like, for example, it says need for a convenience store. Do we think does this group feel that there's a need for a convenience store?
well, I think when West Side is open and I mean, CVS actually provides that.
Right, that's what, so I'm saying, technically CVS is a convenience store.
Right, so, should, so, like, okay, so Paul, Paul, do you have an article about us?
Picketing in front of the bank because we didn't want CPS here. Do you remember that?
I didn't bring that with me.
That was 1996 or
Oh,
something.
my God. So,
Well, Dick Rigby's not listening, so.
So, anyway, thank you for this exercise in history. But, I mean, between CVS, West Side Market, you know, we talked when we were initially meeting with Matt about how that used to be something that was proposed by Exit Zero, but that's obviously changed a number of times. I would love input from our realtor friend about how to encourage how we meet this objective for the mixed use and how to make this commercial district appealing to people in light of investors and business people, in light of the oh so attractive residential economy. You know, I mean, we have a lot of some wonderful, you know, farms that are great commercial endeavors and longstanding businesses. Some of them were losing sadly, you know, and so how does a town make that appeal to income business? That would, you know, right, please, because you know this is an important tipping factor for West Cape May. In that balance, you know, you're talking about a town that used to have, you know, car dealerships and an Acme and, you know, 18 black-owned businesses, you know, like it was its own commercial hub and, you know, and industry, we had our own industry and, you know, and we've seen such a change in that. So, you know, obviously that's an objective that I think anybody who has a long-range view, or a long-range hindsight, you know, look back, holds dear, you know, that's important to us here. So, thoughts on it, but it's something that's kind of, especially given the news about Cape May lumber closing, you know, it's concerning.
And I think that's where it's important that we commercial districts and maintain our commercial districts rather than grant variances to turn them into residential, because if you don't have commercial in an area, your town has no it's not exceptional. If we look at our neighboring town, Cape May City, with the Ray Sun property and Wawa all the way down to the dry dock, what if none of that existed and it was all just townhouses? It would dramatically change that entire end of town for the negative. So I do feel it's important that we do maintain our commercial districts, and I think we're starting to gain traction. I mean, we saw they've been open for what, 3 weeks now? Doc Mike's After Dark, and I think they're doing very, very well. We were there on the 9th. They were packed.
Yeah.
They squeezed us in. So I think that it's starting to catch on more and more and more. And if these spaces are available, I do believe that commercial will make its way over to the borough. We're seeing more and more people moving here on a hopefully more full-time basis, but less rental basis from my sales for sure. They're here. They're enjoying their properties. They want places to be able to walk to. So
That's great to hear.
we need to hang in there and maintain these commercial districts. Can we bring the cost of commercial construction down?
How do you
It
do
might
that?
encourage people to jump in, but that's not possible.
Yeah, I can do that.
I don't know.
You know, I'm thankful that there are people that are living and working and investing in our community, so appreciate that.
So with this one, I'm just going to 25. I mean, I guess maybe 2 points. One, George, I feel like the when, what was it, Cape May Market, what was the market, next to that's now the golf cart shop, used to be the cheese shop, right next to it. Or is it Golden Stop now, it was the market. I mean, when that's a market, I feel like that's a plus. And so, I don't know, I guess maybe my point is, I don't feel like, I'm inclined to remove any sort of encouragement of grocery or market or something like that. So that's my point on that one. The other one that I kind of like about this, and I don't, so maybe it's, for me, I think it's important to emphasize or maybe even define, because I don't know what this means, low impact commercial development. I don't really know what that means, but I'll say what is that?
That's like, real estate office, the lawyers, your office,
Oh, I see.
accounting office.
Yes.
It's
like dentist.
stuff they would generally let mix in residential.
I see.
Because
Okay.
it's not high traffic, it's like, it's not like there's hundreds of cars like the dentist. I mean, they have 3 people there, for 1 hour.
Okay, well, all right, so that's not what I was thinking. So I don't know if it's captured somewhere else. I feel like we talked about this. But there aren't a lot of commercial spaces, and the ones that are there are large. So that's what I feel like about sort of the master plan and commercial in the future. I mean, now getting some first-hand experience, it is expensive on the commercial side, but also, exit 0 now is for sale. That's generally out of reach for as a property, close to $4 million for almost anyone in the commercial space. So I feel like what we certainly are lacking is smaller scale commercial spaces for smaller business owners to reasonably lease or buy.
Yeah,
And
no
renovate.
one else has talked about this.
Right, I think so, like,
I just think that
right, yes,
commercial spaces are available to your point, and I've been looking recently at real estate to buy an office for myself, but you're either dealing with stuff that's like $2.4 million, or it's literally a shoebox and it's a deli or a cafe or a coffee shop or something. Like, there's just not a lot of mix for maybe people that are professionals on the island that would want an office, has affordable rent, even if you don't wanna buy.
Yeah, and you look at some of the service providers like therapists and things like that,
Yeah,
accountants.
Cause we have a lot of
Yeah.
coffee shops and, we have bigger restaurants and things like that, but, they're not like the strip, whatever, on Park, like, it's not somewhere you really have like a professional practice. It just doesn't have that feel to it. It's fine for a yoga studio and a coffee place and, some shops and stuff like that, but, it doesn't.
Two good restaurants.
And good restaurants, but again, that's what that is, but then I feel like we're lacking a place where, a lawyer could have an office or real estate agent. Just somebody that would work with.
Yeah.
Mhm.
yeah, so I don't know exactly, I'm trying to pull this back to 25, and maybe, I don't know, George, you can help pull us back, but I guess, my thought, I know there's so many other items, but a way to keep a focus on helping, I don't know the right word, it's developing a greater variety and a mix of size and style for commercial properties. If people feel like that is captured here, then I'm inclined to,
We do have that section between the, winter shop that goes all the way to the hotel and actually all the way to the next corner that has a few residential houses. There's at least 1 or 2 places in there that are just, nobody lives there, or they're for sale.
there's a couple for
They're
sale.
still commercial.
Right.
And, at one point they put that, is it called Chattel House?
Mhm.
That had a little bit of parking with the 4, those properties right there, that would be a use there that would open up a bunch of little stores.
Right. Yeah, I know we can't solve it here. I don't know if it's a lot of pages on here.
Yeah.
Does anyone feel like this is covered elsewhere to the point where
Well, I just think it's
it's safe?
safe. Yeah.
Obviously, we might as well just carry.
We can't even talk about it.
One of the items on in 25, and I'll just bring this up, is just a thought. How much responsibility does the borough have to help change the way people look at the business district along West Preston down to Sunset? It's very disjointed, it's different types of buildings, it's not cohesive. And one thing it says in here, need a more cohesive, aesthetically busy business district. In 2000, yeah, you have it, there was a, Harwell did the design, and basically it was, you know, all the renderings looked, it made the corner of Sunset and Broadway and West Prairie there look unbelievable. Basically, it, you know, where the Brothers Pizza is and Post on Go, that was no longer there. They put a building right against the sidewalk, and everything was cohesive. That they had the streetlights, the benches, the trash cans, and then all the buildings were of similar bulk and size, so aesthetically pleasing to your eye, design. But how much responsibility do we have? I mean, we are not a big borough, we don't have an enormous amount of money. How do you make the case that that would attract more businesses, more variety of businesses, and make it more attractive to have businesses than the alternative, which is housing, which right now is more attractive than having a collection business? And I feel that the borough does have some responsibility in that, if we want to make it a long-term viable commercial area, because I think, well, everybody's already said this, that we're moving toward almost all residential, because it financially makes way more sense to build a residential building than it does to build a commercial building. So I'm just throwing that out there. I don't have the answer to that question.
So if we were a blighted community, or low, you know.
We're getting huge grants
They're
and
not lighted,
so
we don't need that.
But, you know, people's status as, what was the one grant opportunity we were looking for, I'm sorry.
USDA,
Yeah,
we we're too wealthy to get a full grant. We only
Right.
have half.
right, it was one of the great opportunities that we went for it, and we didn't qualify income-wise, even based on the census. Or whatever, that they used, but, you know, I mean, those kind of visions that people have for those areas, you know, I have a vision for Park Boulevard, but I don't own that space, you know, like you said, it's what's converted storage units that would look great, revitalized with apartments that people could actually live on upstairs, but, you know, we have a lot of great ideas, but how do you need the business community to invest in their own properties and buy into a plan that a community plan for that. So I don't have the answer to the question.
Well, we were, in the last two plans, we were hoping for a walkable downtown, and that runs into two obstacles. Well, one, you have your historic preservation rules on Broadway. So let's say somebody who owns a house on Broadway wants to make it, put a commercial storefront on it, not likely that's gonna be approved. And
Depends on what it is.
you're gonna take one of the Victorians on Broadway and put a commercial storefront on it. How would the HPC react to that? It would
The interior.
be no go.
The interior.
But you're not, those homes don't suit them, they don't really suit themselves to being made into commercial.
More of an obstacle is art.
And then secondly, we bumped up against what we learned with the Exit Zero building, was that if you're going to build, you have to build to flood elevation. So where we would have wanted Exit Zero to be at grade and be sidewalk height, it had to be 4.5 foot off grade to comply.
Yes, those channel house CCLs that you have stuff.
Well, but that's, again, that's not your stroll down the street. That's, you've turned and gone to a specific area. The same, and actually, where we wanted what is now the liquor store to move to the street, ironically, Tom, when he finished renovating it, and I remember telling him that, he goes, "Oh crap, I could have done that." He just didn't know. He would have, but if he had to move the building or rebuild the building, it wouldn't have been sidewalk height anymore. He would have had to meet flood elevation. So some of those concepts, what you would like runs into a bit of reality.
Oh,
And I guess on Facebook, I was looking at a fun picture between Westbury and Myrtle was a massive horse stable where all those little houses are today. Little one. Yeah.
this may be just semantics, but why don't we put need for a convenience store / market? I like the term market. Convenience store makes me think of Wawa. Market makes me think of the cheese shop. Just looking for a market. Maybe there and get milk.
Well, did you say that parking lots aren't submitted in the township or
They're
something?
not permitted as a standalone use.
Okay, I did not know about the lumber store, but that's in the C2 zone.
Yes, it'll be a test case.
So you gotta look at all the different uses, and use I in that zone is public recreational facilities and public parking facility. Okay. Just letting you know, so you're gonna do something about it. Soon, I understand.
So somewhere in the ordinance it says,
Oh, really?
yes,
Okay, I just I just heard you say that, and I was like, oh, what could go there, so I looked at all the C2 uses to see what could go over there. Okay, I'll look around more and.
And that's really the only place it does is C2, so we have no examples. It's 80% cut lot coverage, and be right up on the edge of the sidewalk. It's very unique what you can do there. And it will be a big test case because I mean, they have to put some kind of commercial there.
If you're gonna change this, I'll let the planner speak to this, but if you're gonna change the zone, the master plan review is the time to do it. I'm gonna do it on master plan, let's do it, I master plan. But I do it, there's important notice differences and stuff like that, and I'm important to be a master plan expert, but you're relying your planner on that, we talked about that, but never gonna change uses and zones
Do it now.
now.
We should put that as a side note. Story.
Dining market.
/ market. Just as a note, anything that would go back there in the Cape May lumber property, that is directly on the salt marsh.
Hmm.
And I have a friend that has a business back there and they have to move equipment when we're getting storms and it's nice and, okay, no, like a real stuff.
A lot of the next items are being deleted. And then we go to 4.1.4.2, where they make additional recommendations.
what page you
I'm
on?
on page 37. This is where new recommendations come in. It's not the things that were in the 2005 and the 2015. The one that's caused a lot of interest in the community was 4.2 under housing recommendations. And we beat that one pretty hard at a couple of meetings. I think my opinion, but a lot of the discussion that we had was on what do we do? There's been some concerns about Airbnbs and short-term rentals. My take from it, listening to the audience, listening to this group, I don't think that we need to change the number of days that you can rent, 1, 3, 7, 30. It doesn't matter in terms of what people think. I think the real thing that needs to be changed and enforced are clean rules on what the regulations are on how many people can stay per bedroom or per square footage, the number of cars, and the noise ordinances, and how will they be enforced? And I know our solicitor did a really nice job of writing up a potential ordinance change. And I've read through that multiple times, and I think it really captures that last part that I was talking about. I would delete any part about limiting amount of days that people live in. I really don't feel that it matters that much in terms of what people who live next to these things have complaints about. And again, we're talking balance here. We live in a tourist community. There are going to be rental units. The question is, you are entitled to have your living space without having, what's the real estate term, so you have enjoyable, whatever.
Quiet, enjoyable.
Quiet, enjoyable. You're entitled to that. But these people are also entitled to rent out their houses, but there needs to be some balance between the two. I think if you have clean rules on what can happen, you don't have, whatever, a 3-bedroom house that has 15 people in it and 6 cars. And I'll be honest, I don't think people who rent their houses out really want that either, because it damages their property, puts strain on their property. So,
Some of them do, because it increases their profitability.
right, I agree.
The house 2 over from me rents for $12,000 a week. And it's booked solid, and their advertising is sleeps well.
So this goes back to my point. If the regulations say it should sleep 12, we should be able to enforce that, and we should be able to have the ability to enforce that through the police force or through another means. Well, it could be funding a code enforcement person that works part-time, and we do that through the mercantile fees. But that's what needs to, in my mind, needs to happen. I don't strongly think, I actually don't believe that we should change the number of rental days. I don't think it will matter.
And this one rents, well, by the weekend,
Yeah.
but the comment is, does the property owner want scale? Yes, scale brings money. I know Jimmy's gonna argue, pets in beds, as the industry says. That's what people pay for. And
But if we have clean rules that say, hey, if you have 4 bedrooms, you can have whatever. Let's just say X number of people, that's how many people need to be in the house. If a bachelorette party comes and there's, whatever, 8 girls staying there, and they have a bachelorette party and there's 50 people there, hello, you can fetch y'all. Something break it up because it's a violation of the code. You can't have that many people. That's what I think the issue is. It's not renting for the weekend. So I don't really support changing our regulations on 1 to 7 day rentals. I mean, would I prefer it? Probably, but.
I just don't see the one that's on it. Maybe second to make sure, and I mean, the story all. And this parties and everything that's going on, I'm not saying that's the issue here, but. I think for me, issue with short-term rentals, and I also don't think it was because they're rid of them, but they're an issue because they're cleaning up rentals that locals would be staying. To me, that is the biggest issue that we have on the planet. I get there's traffic problems, I get there's priority problems, I get there's water usage problems. But we've been here, I think, 13 years, and I've seen a marked difference in how many people, I'll say young adults through like 50, are able to live on the island and are renting and are working locally. Everybody's been kicked off. Nobody I know can find rentals. It's bad. So to me, the biggest culprit in that are people, and I'm not saying people who've owned family homes for years and years and, you know, they need to rent it out to make ends meet. I get that. I'm talking people that have come in from Pennsylvania, New York, Delaware, bought properties for the sole intention of renting them out. And that's the issue, is that they're buying up all these things and then locals don't have anywhere to live. So it's like, to me, this is the first step in solving that. And I think if we don't have a local population, we don't have a town. And the whole talk of commercial districts and all of that means nothing. It goes out the window. Because there's no one here. I run those standards.
Well, I don't vote and I don't get voted in, so I can tell you that I disagree with you. I don't think that overnight rentals in a residential zone is residential use. It's a transient unsupervised use, which is a hotel without management. So I just fundamentally disagree from a zoning perspective that a home that is utilized for overnight stays by different people with no one on site is worse than a bed and breakfast that is permitted only in your commercial zone. So why you would allow between two families that are living in a house, a home that has unregulated transient overnight uses is beyond my comprehension from the zoning perspective. That's just my view of things. So that's my zoning opinion, but I don't vote. So I'm just sharing with you why I feel differently about that, why it's written the way it's written.
And we don't want Lisa yelled at again by the public.
I do think we need to definitely identify the places that are being rented out, because we have to make sure they're safe. And there's people renting things out that are completely off the books as far as the community knowing about it, and we don't know that they have fire extinguishers or, you know, smoke alarms or escape.
I'm gonna say this again. If anyone is aware of an illegal, property being rented illegally, please let the clerk's office know so they can check for a mercantile license on that property. Because it will say these things out loud like it's a truth. And we attempted on the commission level to get means of finding some of those answers out that they're being rented, but that was, Kalash was putting up on that. But you know, if you know of an address, it's very simple to look up to see if they have a mercantile license. Very simple. So, you know, the idea there's rampant illegal Airbnbs. We have 300 mercantile licenses in this town. 300. So, if there's an illegal one in there, let's find it. You know, if there's an illegal, unlicensed place, let's find it, because that's a lot of mercantile licenses.
I know Lower Township is moving to create more control through the mercantile license, because I own a property in Lower Township. And the fire inspection and reviews every year in Lower Township gets tougher and tougher and tougher.
Yeah, I guess I would, I know it's kind of government, I don't know, I always have a tendency to try to find some compromising that it's maybe impossible. But I do feel like some emphasizing an action plan around revising mercantile license to just better meet these needs, a discussion about them. I mean, we don't need the solution, we're talking master plan goals. I feel like visiting the mercantile licenses and determining if and how they meet the other priorities of the master plan. I think it sounds like they're not doing that today, and I don't know, maybe to go to your example, Allison, I mean, if somebody maybe is gonna think twice if they're gonna buy a 4-bedroom house, if you could buy the 4-bedroom house near Paul and then rent it out for 16 people, then you might think, I might do that and scoop that up and make it a rental, but a mercantile license says, hey, if it's a 4-bedroom house, that's an 8-person thing, and you have this, then you might say, I don't know if I'm gonna do that. So I don't know, I mean, it's not maybe the answer, I guess, but I'm just feeling, I guess what the point that I wanna make is, I do feel like, prioritizing, in the master plan, a review of the mercantile license for rentals and how it meets the other primary goals of the master plan. I feel like that, to me, is a priority. I guess I share that with Jordan.
For me, it would be actually limiting the number of.
Limiting.
Not for year-round rentals, but for short-term rentals. Put a cap on the food, so that it's not just investor, like it's not, and it's not just West Cape May, I mean, I've seen it in cities all over the country, I've seen it in different countries, like everybody's having this problem. So, we're not gonna solve it, but yeah.
On the firm's website, is there somewhere that discloses who has the mercantile license?
No, you'd have to open that. You have to open that.
What does that mean? You have to open it?
Open
Public records.
It's publicly available. You have to open the request.
Well, that's a good point. Maybe that shouldn't, maybe that should be a public.
Minutes, you just have to put in a request.
Well, why?
There's certain information that does not be redacted. You can't have all the information.
Well, you could,
Legal items need to be redacted and the clerk has to do that. So they can't just.
Yeah,
So why couldn't you just put a list of the properties that have?
that's the properties at least.
We have to ask the clerk.
I think I like what Kevin's coming from transparency. If you could go to a list of addresses that all have.
Just have to ask for it. You have to ask for it.
I don't think you should have to ask. It should be a public domain item. In the spirit of transparency, an Oprah request and paying the money to the clerk is not something citizens.
So. It's not an issue of transparency. The information is there and available. So I don't know if it can be, and like Tricia said.
It's quick too, Paul. Like Oprahs are quick to get back to you.
It's a question.
Oh, I just went through plenty of it, so.
It's a question for the clerk about whether or not that's something they can post.
If it can be done, I like the idea.
It can be done.
Even if we just list we don't have to list the people of Oldham, we just say this is the address. These are the addresses of the property license. We should investigate whether we should do that.
I mean, does people in this audience have to go to the clerk and fill out an Oprah for, and Oprah what? For a property they suspect? Or for everything? I mean,
Well, what I suggested is that if someone has an idea that there's a property that is being illegally rented, to give the clerk the address and they'll check to see if there's a mercantile.
since you would have to do it in Oprah to find out if the property has a mercantile license, you don't, as a neighbor, you don't know
And
that it's
the clerk
illegal.
can- The clerk can check to see whether there's a mercantile license and let the code enforcement officer know about that. If there is or isn't. So these are questions for the clerk and her responsibilities in terms of Oprah. I'll get the answers tomorrow. There's no need to discuss it.
I think there should be
Okay,
a published list.
I will get.
These are all the
answers.
addresses that-
I'm urgent. I've got the answers tomorrow. If that can be done, it'll be done.
that
Anything else? I have, like I said before, my stuff that I had was mostly grammatical things, just a few little things. They were mostly addressed. I have notes on here that you wanted to write something regarding public safety objective and also HPC recommendations. That's ones that,
Right, for the.
so I didn't deal with that. I know that you had some things.
Yeah, I'll send I got a little write-up from, Elon, and I'm going to spend a second to match that.
And then the other one was public safety objective. I don't know, just have it that you were going to take care of that one. And then it was like a lot of housekeeping things with Anthony, which,
I think I think it was 21, and I think we gained all the way through the. It wasn't public, it was actually, I have it on my notes from the last meeting, but I just speed. We talked about the speed. So I think it's.
okay,
The only last thing I have is on page 38. I know you made a recommendation on design recommendation. I really like what they wrote there. The question would be, how is that incorporated into the document, these new things that they're putting? It was the neighborhood design recommendation on page 38.
right, we had this discussion with Rich about what you could require as far as, you said it's very hard to require things to look a certain way in the town.
Oh, okay, I was talking about how I'd eliminate Oprah, just, all documents scanned in and available to all public and all documents, that's how I would handle it, but. I was distracted, so we're talking about architectural,
Yes,
okay, yeah, so that
you said it's very
zoning
hard.
does not regulate architecture per se, that's only HPC can regulate architecture. The only way you can really regulate architecture in the town is to have a historic designation.
Right. And recommendations were for front porches and for, you know, we all know there's some really ugly stuff being built in town, just big boxes, I mean, they are, big vinyl boxes. And it's very hard, we talked about this before, for that to be regulated, because everyone has different taste. I mean, some communities do regulate it, but
Yeah, I remember that now because I was talking about the regulations they have in side yards and how you can try to boxes and make uh, the side yard bigger as it goes up. That's how people make people.
Some
sign
visuals.
and all that.
You talked about like some kind of
Yeah.
cuts and alignment.
Breaks in long
Yeah.
lines of
Yeah,
walls
yeah.
and you can try to do some of that stuff, yes. But
like requiring front porches, it's very hard to do.
yeah, require for
Everybody
you
has to-
guys encourage them, you have an ordinance that helps encourage them and also what you got, you recognize it as one of your purposes of zoning. That's probably why they're in open space, West Cape May and Cape May both are porch towns, so. Whenever somebody looks for a front yard variance for a porch, you're like, oh, that's not as bad as something else. There's ways you go beside your ordinance, but you can do that kind of stuff, yes. I mean, you can't say we want Victorian looking houses or we want shutters on houses and stuff like that, that's not zoning.
You can encourage architectural elements, but you can't require. Yes. This year, page 38. So we can't really require, we can encourage. Is that correct?
Unless we expand.
Right, unless it's an HBC.
So in Cape May, the whole town's a HPC district and they can do about two.
No. It's a complicated question. Because they do claim the whole town as historic. The whole cover every house, and then within that historic district, there's contributing, non-contributing, and key.
So does anyone have anything else regarding this document?
I'm also gifting to your 2018 West Cape Bay Environmental Resource Report.
I feel like it's Christmas. Thank you.
And
Anything else you would like to give?
I'm also gifting.
Oh, is this like a state one?
Yeah. This is actually my presentation in 2009 to the State Master Plan Committee. We were the first municipality in King County to have cross acceptance with the state of New Jersey. So that was, and a map, a state map to go with it. But also, what I think a lot of the master plan time is we on this board and in the master plan don't have the same imagination as the developers. So between now and 2035, we're gonna get surprised a lot of times. The other thing I'm gifting to George is the facade for Sixth Street Partners project. And the paperwork that goes with that. And also, this is a 1998 Press of Atlantic City article about how sewer service was going to change the complexion of Westgate Bay. And it certainly did. And sewer came, and the borough was scrambling to create things like R4 kind of after the fact. So. Okay. And also a newspaper article from 2003 on the same subject.
Oh, we up late and I'm reading all this.
I feel like Peter Burt's.
I was gonna tell something else.
Now,
Thank you.
Does anyone have anything further on the master plan? Pre-examination?
actually, I'm going to give George one more document that I don't need anymore. This was a report that I worked on with the tax assessor, which you all, Luke, you bless it. This was only 10 years, pages and pages of new construction in the borough of Westgate, Mass. And the question was that I had to go through this exercise was how many of them are in the floodplain? But in general, so the ones that are not in the floodplain are scratched out. But it was like, as you can see with all these pages, over 100 new builds.
What was that? What was the time frame on that?
Only 4 years,
I mean, what was the?
2015 to 19.
Okay.
So in the course of 4 years, we had this much new construction in the borough of Westgate, Mass.
We've had more since. 16 houses.
So I can certainly say not anything that was not foreseen in the 2015 master plan review or the one before that.
We should have that number included. Okay.
And of course, this ends in 19, so there's been another
6 years.
4 years of bill
Yeah.
that this doesn't capture.
That's- Yeah. So we took down memory lane, so, yeah, what's going on?
I'm doing it right now. I'd like to, if you have nothing further on the master plan, I'd like to open, floor to the public. Anyone would like to come forward and address the board on questions or comments? If you could just, state your name, if you could.
So we're not, it's okay, you can say who you are and where you're from, but I don't swear people in because you're not giving testimony.
Michael Jahusky, Jachum, WSAI, 302 Avenue.
But slow down one minute. And see your address again.
302 Avenue.
Thank you.
All right, so I have a couple of questions with regard to the master plan. And really for clarification, because they seem to be somewhat conflicting in a way, and just so I understand. Our main concern is really the fact that we have a septic system, and it's going on 5 years old. And we were fortunate enough when they constructed it that we didn't wind up with a mountain in our backyard. We're not so sure we might be as lucky the next time when that is to be reconstructed again. So with the plan coming up for the reconstruction of 6th Avenue, the question came up, actually, my wife presented this several meetings ago, whether or not the sewer could be extended on down the rest of the street. So I have here, these are all repeats from the 2015 plan, the reexamination. And it says they remain valid and reaffirmed. They're on page 25 and 26. And that's the pages at the bottom, not including the cover pages. So the first one is 3.1. And the objective number 1, provide adequate municipal sanitary sewer, storm sewer, and water service throughout the borough. What does that mean? Okay, then it says right below that sewer, the borough will continue to maintain and replace or upgrade what is existing rather than expanding the borough's water and sewer infrastructure, which could lead to overdevelopment. So the key to that, overdevelopment. Okay, so then we go down to objective number 2. Develop a strategy for expanding municipal sewer service to areas in the western portion of the borough which lie within the sewer service area, but have no access to municipal sewer mains. So it's kind of, conflicting with the one before that. So then we go to objective number 3. Continue to upgrade and extend the infrastructure network to service future residential development and to strengthen the economic growth of the borough. So it seems to me like, okay, we want to make sure we have the infrastructure in place for new development. But what about existing residents?
That objective was deleted.
I'm sorry?
That objective was deleted in 2015.
It says remain valid and reaffirmed.
Are you talking about objective number 3?
Yeah,
I have a note on mine that says contradicts above.
I'm just looking at my draft. It says 2015 re-exam report. This objective was deleted to be replaced with objectives listed as strategic.
with the revised pages. It says status recommendation, goals and objectives listed in 2015 master plan re-examination report are reaffirmed. Further clarifications discussed above. I mean, I could be wrong. And then the last one is really on objective number 5. Explore the possibility of expanding the suitable area boundary to include houses currently prohibited connecting to municipal sewer service.
What page are you on?
The one I just read is 26, and that's the numbers at the bottom of the page. The one before that was 25.
So, Mike, if you go to page 8,
Which one?
page 8,
Yeah,
that is the previous master plan objective.
okay.
Okay, so if you look at, for example, number 2, you're right, it is like with the information on page 8. Because
Okay.
objective number 2 says at the bottom, 2015 reexamination report status. So it says the objective was deleted and replaced by objectives listed in number 1. So this is, sorry, and then this was the result of the 2015 reexamination. Yes, yeah, because this was the stating what was done before, he didn't incorporate that, so you're right, it was in conflict because they didn't do that for us.
Okay. All right, how about the other stuff?
Same.
They are, okay.
Yeah, so here's this again. Wait a minute here. This is 2, 3,
I see that.
9, there's 5, I'm not going back. 9, 10, 11.
Okay.
Yeah. I can see how it was. It was.
It is,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
All right, very good, then. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else would like to come forward?
165, maybe. Already hereby closing of the Canyon lumber. I was wondering if there's any way we could assist them if they want to stay open. I don't know what the reasons why they're closing. I do know that in the past, they wanted to extend their front structures toward Park Avenue going north. And there was some difficulties, but it was pre-existing, new codes. So with the board, maybe it's a way we can assist them if they want to expand their storefront district going towards, again, north toward York Avenue. If that would be some kind of help to them to stay open, I'm not sure what the reason why I didn't talk to them. But sometimes it takes a little, what do you need, what's the real problem, is, you don't know the land, I don't know. It's a beautiful place, and we'd love to see, keep it. And how does it affect the roundabout, this whole roundabout is postponed based on Cape Lumber?
Yeah, that, Jack,
They were part of the whole delay and whatnot, and
do
they
you
made
want the
agreement.
answer?
So,
I have the answer if you'd like.
oh, great, finish.
Okay, I'll let you finish.
I'm finished. I was just saying that the roundabout, which we talked about, again, is now, I guess, gonna be built by the state. Now I feel bad that it's closing. And will that change the roundabout? So, the whole thing about them being open, Myrtle being two-way to a parking, will not affect the plan. It's a very serious, construction.
Yes, so, my current understanding today is they're not selling the property. They're closing their business, and that was a business decision. I'm trying to remember the wording of the letter that my husband received about it. Said, I guess some of the niche products that they sold, they no longer have access to, and the market didn't bear it, and Kevin wants to retire, so, but they're not doing the business they were before. I don't know, it's, you would have to ask them, I don't wanna speculate about that.
There was a memo from Kevin
Yeah,
on
that's what he said.
Facebook.
Yeah, that's the letter that was sent to all customers.
And it basically, I think it was just as simple that the business is no longer viable, was what he said. It's in the memo.
So I don't know if he wants to stay open, we might want it to stay open, he might not want to stay open.
No, again, I didn't know in particular. Also, you guys mentioned about, parking up on Park. I believe under the master plan of the street, our street surveys that York continues south into that, until it's Borough, maybe like 100 feet. And just before then, there was an old, coal factory that's covered with brush. That's actually buildable land and, it uses land, that's not all swamp. That might be something that wasn't mentioned in the master plan, whether develop parking or anything on that York pumped out, I didn't know what the streets predicted, all the maps were wrong or right, but in this land and there's uses there, that can be used in the downtown district. Also, was meant, we had in the past, we had a television test, which other than, Marbles, the city came in, we had a 7-Eleven that got torn down, and it's really good. What's there is horrible, it's a parking lot with a wooden deck, I don't know what's there, it's really good, it's not tasteful. You're talking about things like that, and that's more.
I don't know what it wasn't tasteful.
Yeah, but this is, that's pretty bad. Well, other than that, just, thank you guys, and, one more thing, you might have mentioned, I might have missed it, but the 75-foot frontage. on the 100-foot deep lots that are allowed to have duplexes. I didn't hear anything about that in the master plan. I could have missed it. It's gotta be stopped. That's the name of the problem about overbuilding. An example is a ranch from the 70-foot lot that has two or three bedrooms, one bath, becomes a duplex with 4 bedrooms, 4 baths, wash and drying, 2 kitchens, 2 pools. And all the trees are cut down, and then that's a problem with the environmental commission, the tree commission. And then the water, I mean, it's a triple header, a triple trifecta. And I don't know if that's in there, that should be addressed, it's gotta be addressed, the duplexes. There's no reason for them. They're all tasteful and they're generally meant for this area. There are, the type of construction and developed fire service, they affect that, it's not good. So I was hoping that might be in the next.
I agree with you, Jack, on
Yeah.
duplexes, triplexes, quadplexes.
But again, that's a serious issue, it should be. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else who would like to come forward?
Hamilton Wild, 168 Stevens Street. Regarding short-term rentals, has anybody tried to contact Airbnb or Vrbo directly? Because if you do, it is possible to request that they provide you listings for every property in the market. And I've seen this done for other towns in other states as well. I'm also fairly active on some complaints forums regarding short-term rentals. So that's a possibility where if they respond, you can immediately get all of those questions answered and compare it to the existing licenses. Thank you.
That was great, thank you.
Thank you.
I do think Lower Township has done that, because they have a list of, they keep track of how much property is through real estate versus the two online.
There's more than 2 now. There's more than 2 now.
The mayor of Lower Township makes the claim that I find hard to believe, that there's more Airbnb in Lower Township than through real estate. And that statement, I guess, if he has the numbers, I can't argue with him, but to me, that seems hard for me to get my head around.
Is it this,
As we move forward, it's computers.
is it the city? Is it the city of paying for a service that identifies across all of those different platforms? The short term, I don't know.
Yeah, I thought there was.
Airbnb, the Airbnb.
Yeah, I think I saw that.
So it's computers. Anyone in the 30s, I talked to a realtor, who finds.
Is that true, Ryan?
I couldn't hear what he said.
Anyone under 30, if you tell them you need a realtor to rent something, they look at you like that.
You had it for less going through a realtor.
I'm just saying, I think anyone under 30 does.
Anyone else before we close the public portion that would like to come up? Okay, seeing no one, is there anyone from the board that has anything they'd like to discuss before we adjourn?
When will Matt be back?
Let me answer the question. I talked to him last week. He wants this is obviously additional information. We'll see what the next schedule is. I said, George, to be honest with you.
I don't remember when he's coming back.
Yeah, he wants to create the final draft for us to look at.
Unless we have a final draft.
If we're ready and doing time, I'll sit down with me and go through this and like try and nail down what is not exactly right. Sure. And just, we're trying, I mean, I have notes, but get our latest one, see, what I would like to see is what Matt has and what he's already, we made changes, and I know you put through some stuff when you took notes. And my latest draft that I have has my notes where we changed a few words here and there, but I haven't seen it in the document, and so I keep looking at them. I would love to sit down and say, okay, this page is done, this is everything we made changes, all the way through it until we're,
I mean, we can go through it and just write on our sheet. that says-
without torturing.
Yeah, I mean, and then we can come back here and present that,
Right.
and then we'll have Matt come in. Once we.
Does that sound like a plan?
Okay. So let me know when you're.
Whatever, I'll make time, whenever you have time.
We'll just do everything you just did tonight.
Cool, thank you. Anyone have anything else? We have a motion to adjourn? Alright, well, make sure you don't have any more newspaper articles.
That's what I'm keeping on.
Thank you.